A picture is worth 1,000 words. At least that's what I've been told. What I've learned when it comes to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me, Goddess, is that the word count is less important than the frame we use to hold the picture. A picture worth words tells a story. The frame determines which part of the story we tell. This is the part of the story we see. How we see becomes how we think. How we think, how we act. How we act makes history. And history teaches us that the truth is hard to kill, but a lie well told can last forever, can make whole peoples disappear, can change the sight of a generation, can give an entire country amnesia, make us forget where we come from so we cannot remember where we should be going. History is not was. History is 1968, the Mexico City Olympics. The air, thick and wet, dangles round their necks. Protests build condensation on their brows, hot and heavy. Tommy Smith, USA gold. Peter Norman, Australia silver. John Carlos, USA bronze. 2 black-gloved fists boldly pierce the air, and one white face hangs low. His story is not the history we relish. We retell these men in opposition to each other. We cannot see their strength, so we cannot grow stronger together. With all of our words, we miss the point in the picture. We do not understand the frame. New frame. History is not was. It is 1968, the Mexico City Olympics. The air, thick and wet, dangles round their necks. Protests builds condensation on their brows, hot and heavy. Tommy Smith, USA gold. Peter Norman, Australia silver. John Carlos, USA bronze. Statuesque on platform, they stand. They do not speak, but their protest is heard loud and unapologetic round the world. 2 black-gloved fists boldly pierce the air. One white face looks down, his chest brandishing a badge. Olympics for Human Rights, an organization opposing racism in sports. He knows their fight is not the same, yet they stand up against a common enemy. He does not throw up black power fists, rather relinquishes the right, and his white gaze hangs his head, owning the weight of white privilege. These men stood together. Their posture to struggle different, though entangled, their solidarity, an incredible act of resistance, erased from our frame. Tommy Smith and John Carlos returned to the United States, banned from the Olympics for life, yet heroes in their own right. And Peter Norman returns to Australia, his protest forgotten everywhere but home. He never runs again. He dies alone. We do not tell the whole story. We cannot be made better by the history we do not know. Truth is, every Black History Month for as long as I can remember, I was taught Rosa Parks sat on a bus. As if her sitting was just mere coincidence, just tired feet, just this one time pushed too far over the edge of white supremacy, a split-second decision, impulsive, not planned out at all, just something you might want to do after a long day of work in the South. Just tired. Once again, our frame, her body, in action, limited to a seat, and we missed the point, so new frame. It is 1946. The United States Supreme Court determines in Irene Morgan versus the Commonwealth of Virginia that segregation in interstate busing is unconstitutional. March 2nd, 1955, 9 months before Mrs. Rosa Parks is arrested for her resisting segregation on buses, there's Claudette Colvin, NAACP youth member, 15 years old, refuses to leave her seat, is arrested, a case is filed, yet she is forgotten in impropriety. A 16-year-old unwedded mother in the 1950s makes you unfit to lead a movement, makes your act of resistance less palatable, less deserving, less likely to make change. Yet she is not the only bus resistor we have forgotten. Aurelia Browder, Mary Louise Smith, and Susie McDonald all sat on the bus before Mrs. Rosa Parks. December 1st, 1955. Mrs. Parks is arrested for resisting bus segregation in Montgomery, Alabama. What we are not told is that prior to her resistance on bus number 2857 is that she raised defense funds for Claudette Colvin, serves as the secretary of the local NAACP chapter, is brutalized repeatedly by James Blake, the same bus driver who later forces her to move from her seat for a white man, she, not sitting in the whites-only section, she, sitting in the front row of the colored section, refuses to give up her seat. Not a servant to tired feet. Rather, a 42-year-old dignified black woman tired of giving in, tired of giving up much more than her seat to white supremacy. She's jailed not once but twice for her role in the Montgomery bus boycott. She's terrorized, forced to leave her home after being fired from her job, moves to Detroit, Michigan, where she lives the rest of her life, and I learn. Some things are easier said than done, and some things are said easier than the action required to achieve them, so we do not try to achieve them again. 20 years before Colin Kaepernick, there's Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. He is 24 years old. Born Chris Jackson in Gulfport, Mississippi, it is 1993. He is entering the climax of his NBA career, the pinnacle of a spiritual revelation, the impetus, reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. He converts to Islam, finds peace in the thing that America fears most while simultaneously becoming one of the best and one of America's favorite pastimes. Each season he improves. Each day his faith grows deeper. He questions how ritual and nation take precedence over people and peace. Islam, derived from the root word salam, means peace. When Mahmoud Abdul Rauf refuses to stand for the national anthem, the NBA tells the Nuggets, handle it discreetly. It is not until the trial of Timothy McVeigh, the 1995 Oklahoma City bomber, that American basketball fans begin to notice the peacefully sitting Mahmoud Abdul Rauf not as a basketball player, not as a practicing Muslim, but rather as a terrorist, as a threat to American patriotism. And once again, our sitting becomes explosion. The posturing of black bodies constantly called into question, moved around for America's comfort, patriotism, a cover-up for a nation at war with itself. Before Colin Kaepernick, Abdul Rauf sits in a press conference, calls out the symbol of tyranny and oppression, and once again refuses to stand for the national anthem. Hours later, the NBA suspends him indefinitely without pay, citing a rule that requires players, coaches, and trainers to stand in a dignified posture lined up for the U.S. and Canadian national anthem in a country where administrative leave is standard practice when police officers shoot to kill unarmed black bodies sitting, and an unarmed black Muslim body will kill your career, burn down your house, make your family a firing range. Mahmoud Abdul Rauf is a part of our story, a part of history that we do not tell, so we relive it over and over and over and over again. History is not was. It is 2016, looking a lot like 1968, and I can't help but notice how our bodies carry the same stories as our elders, how we only know justice in part, so our piece is barely parceled together. We, a puzzled picture with missing pieces, make icons of moments we barely understand and say, this is the frame for the movement, this is the way it should be. Yet the picture is always greater than we know, or greater than we've been told. Who lives, who dies, who tells our story, shapes the past, shapes the present, transforms our future sight and ability to do and be better. We behold the past with a telescope, the present with a microscope, see stars and germs, everything else a blind spot. But what would those stars be without the dark matter around them, and those germs without the organisms who carry them? History, like space, is far more vast than we can ever know. Like germs, unseen and ever present in, on, and around us. They change us, transform us for better or for worse. Yes, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but it is the frame that makes all of the difference.